Let's welcome in our powerhouse panel on this Friday morning. Joining us today, radio host and Project 21 National Advisory Board member Christopher Arps is with us, and in studio, former Deputy Press Secretary at the White House and Newsmax contributor Hogan Gidley, and the former Lieutenant Governor of New York, also a Newsmax contributor, Betsy McCoy. Great to have you in-house, Betsy. Hogan, Chris, good to see you. Happy Friday to everyone. This is pretty unbelievable, if you ask me. Jamie Dimon, he's been outspoken in the past, CEO of J.P. Morgan. He says the economy is heading for a certain hurricane. This as gas prices in this country set a record for a 7th straight day. If you want to go a step deeper now, gas prices have set a record for 23 of the last 24 days. Hogan, is it time for the administration? We heard from the president last night. Again, you know, he was talking about gun control, but this is an administration that has been slow to react, and then their reaction is typically wrong. What'd you make of last night and where we are today?
Well, and they also act like they didn't know any of this was predictable. No one saw this coming. They did this in Afghanistan when everyone said, you know, you pull out the wrong way, it's going to fall into chaos. It did. They did this, obviously, with the topics we're talking about today, because the President of the United States, even with baby formula, knew this was going to be a problem. They were talking about addressing it back in October. Nothing happened. They said it was a whole of government approach. But then when Karine Jean-Pierre was asked about it, she said, hey, we don't even know who's running it. This is the type of thing we've seen out of this administration consistently, especially and including inflation. We knew the prices were going up. We knew it was hurting real Americans. But this is a power play by the president for politics heading into the midterm. He's already admitted he can't address any of these things. It's not going to be fixed by the midterms, so they're focused on guns, they're focused on climate, and now they're focused on all the issues that will drive people to the polls for their base, as opposed to things that actually affect real Americans.
Well, and it shows that the administration is willing to sacrifice the well-being of the American people to capitulate to the far left extremists in the party on both issues. Gas prices, of course, because they're capitulating to the climatologists, climate extremists who say, keep that natural gas, keep that oil in the ground. The Biden administration is even going to court in one legal trick after another to prevent leasing on federal lands. And, of course, with inflation, even Democrats like Larry Summers advised the administration early on that this extreme spending, $1.9 trillion in that March 2021 bill, $1.9 trillion in spending, I won't call it for welfare, it was for giveaways, would sink the nation into this terrible crisis of inflation. And what is the Fed going to do? They're going to pull back quickly. And Jamie Dimon may be correct that we are heading for an economic hurricane.
Yeah, and he tried to temper his comments, Chris, by saying we don't know how bad the hurricane's going to be. Is it going to be a Cat 5 or a Cat 1? Look, a hurricane's a hurricane. All right, it's not going to be good. If it's a Cat 5, that's a depression. Cat 1's a recession, and it looks like we're heading there. Yesterday, the New York Times, actually this is an op-ed from a Democrat yesterday in the New York Times, Ro Khanna, a California congressman. The headline, pretty darn clear here. There is more. Let me get back to the headline. Well, I can't see the headline now, but this is what Ro Khanna wrote. The most urgent goal of this task force is to address gas prices, and that the Biden administration can basically do more. If that's coming from a Democrat, Chris, what's the administration going to do with that? And Ro Khanna, by the way, he's not running in a close race. He'll likely win in November, so he's fine come November.
Yeah, I think Jamie Dimon said yesterday what is very obvious, especially to the markets. The NASDAQ is already in the bear market. It's 31% down from its peak from November. We see the Chinese economy that is heading into a recession. And as we all know, these economies now are linked. And if one sneezes, all of them sneeze. So a recession is looming. The Fed is trying to get inflation down to its rate of 2%, which is their focus. It's going to take a lot of interest rate rises in order to get that. And, of course, that is going to slow economic growth and lead us towards a recession.
All right, let's take a listen to some comments that Joe Biden had to say when he addressed the nation about gun control. Take a look.
We need to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. And if we can't ban assault weapons, then we should raise the age to purchase them from 18 to 21. I respect the culture and the tradition and the concerns of lawful gun owners. At the same time, the Second Amendment, like all other rights, is not absolute.
Betsy, your reaction to the speech last night?
No one has ever argued that the Second Amendment is absolute. But the fact is that the Democratic Party, including Joe Biden, has pushed too hard, too far, blaming guns and gun ownership. Let me just point out that gun ownership is far more prevalent in rural areas than urban areas, yet the homicides, the gun homicides, are far more prevalent in the urban areas. Guns are not the reason. It's a culture of tolerating crime. And in the school shootings, as the Wall Street Journal has pointed out, most of those school shootings have not been done by these high-capacity guns. They've been done by handguns. What we need is school discipline and mental health for these young males who are clearly troubled and could be stopped if they were identified early enough.
Hogan, last night, again, no mention of things that it seems like could be bipartisan. Red flag laws, they are outdated, even in states that have strict red flag laws. You saw what happened in Buffalo, New York, okay? Sure. This guy was able to legally buy those weapons, okay? An 18-year-old. Nothing about that. Nothing about mental health. Nothing about single-parent homes,
right?
Okay, which is a huge part of this crisis, and of course, mental health.
Right. He was factually wrong on a lot of things. He flat out lied on others. But the broader theme of Joe Biden and most Democrats is, if you don't agree with their policy prescriptions, which of course means taking more guns, then you somehow want these shootings to occur. It's absolutely divisive language, of course, it's dangerous, but it's sick to imply that. Everyone's heart was broken by what happened in Uvalde and all the other school shootings before. But the fact of the matter is, the prescriptions he's talking about, the do something crowd, now we finally find out what they want to do. And as Betsy pointed out, it wouldn't impact a thing. It would not have stopped a single one of these shootings. Evil exists. There are other ways to address this. We can look at some gun laws, but show me what they're actually going to stop in the process. If you can prove that to me, then we can have a serious conversation. Stop vilifying the other side.
Chris, do you agree with Betsy, the Second Amendment? You know, Joe Biden keeps saying the Second Amendment is not absolute. Let's say that was the First Amendment. And Joe Biden was saying that about the First Amendment. You know, freedom of speech is not absolute.
He says it all the time about the First Amendment,
that, but he doesn't say it that definitively. He keeps saying it's not absolute. Look, we're trying to get a bipartisan bill done here. A lot of Republicans support this. Mitch McConnell has deployed his two chief deputies, Lindsey Graham and John Cornyn, in Texas to try and get something done to address particularly the background check issue. You're not going to win hearts and minds telling people that you're going to take away their guns and the Second Amendment's not absolute.
Yeah, one of the Democrats' main talking points is that we're awash in weapons in this country. There's 400 million guns, 300 million Americans. I heard a very interesting statistic the other day that showed that the percentage of Americans owning guns in 1970 was 42%. Today, it's 43%. About the same. That's not the issue. And it really it discourages me that we want to put all this focus on guns and these school shootings, which are horrible, but we don't mention the fact that over the holiday weekend, 44 people were shot in Chicago. 11 of them were killed, and that happens every single weekend, and we don't see a focus on that.
Yeah, such a good point, Chris. We'll leave it there, but I've kept these numbers. Memorial Day weekend, I've kept them all week because this is such an important, and this again wasn't addressed. More people die from handguns in the inner cities than die in any of these mass shootings that we've seen. That doesn't mean the mass shootings don't need to be addressed. This issue doesn't need to be confronted, but you've got to go all the way and confront the issue in its entirety. 15 people were killed in Philadelphia over the weekend, 9 in Chicago, 43 were shot in Chicago alone. That's two cities. That's just this past weekend. Today's Friday. What's going to happen this weekend? Panel will pick this back up top of the hour. Betsy McCoy, Hogan Gidley, Chris Arps, thanks so much.